Episode 4. The Weight of Choices. The night air offered no relief from the heat. Tommy Ricci walked the streets with no destination, hands shoved deep in his pockets, trying to put distance between himself and the cramped apartment where his father's slurred accusations still echoed. "You think you're better than this? You think any of you are?" He'd been walking for an hour, maybe more, letting his feet carry him through territories he knew by instinct. 3 blocks safe, turn left before the bodega with the red awning. Never cut through the alley behind the butcher shop after dark. The rules were written in blood and memory, and Tommy knew them all. He found himself at the basketball court on 163rd Street without meaning to. The chain-link fence rattled softly in the occasional breeze, and the court itself lay empty under the streetlights. Painted lines faded to ghosts. This was where they'd spent 1,000 summer nights. Where Miguel had taught him to shoot left-handed after Tommy broke his right wrist in 6th grade, where Marcus had first told them about taking the SATs, where Ray had kissed Maria Delgado behind the bleachers 2 summers ago. Tommy gripped the fence, metal warm under his palms. Everything was coming apart. Marcus leaving for Colombia. Miguel trapped in Diego's organization. And him, Tommy Ricci, going nowhere, becoming his father one drink at a time. "Thought I might find you here." Tommy turned to find Ray approaching from the street, hands in his pockets, his usual easy stride replaced by something more cautious. "Yeah, well," Tommy shrugged. "Didn't feel like going home." Ray nodded, understanding in the gesture. He'd been to Tommy's apartment enough times to know what that meant. "Your old man?" "Same as always, just louder." Tommy released the fence, turned to face his friend. "What are you doing out here?" "Looking for you," wanted to talk. "If this is about Marcus, it's not." Ray moved closer, leaned against the fence beside Tommy. "Well, not just about Marcus, it's about Miguel." Tommy felt his jaw tighten. "What about him?" "I talked to Carmen today, at the basketball court near her building." Ray's voice was quiet, careful. "She told me things, about Diego, about how he set this whole thing up." "We already know that. Marcus figured it out days ago." "There's more." Ray glanced around, checking the empty street out of habit. "Diego's been watching all of us for weeks. Not just Miguel, all 4 of us. He knows about Marcus's scholarship, knows about your father's situation, knows everything." The words settled over Tommy like a weight. Why? Because we're Miguel's weak points, his leverage. Diego knows that Miguel won't run, won't fight back, won't do anything that might put us in danger. Ray's voice carried an edge Tommy rarely heard. He's been planning this for a long time. Tommy pushed off the fence, paced a few steps. His father's words echoed again. "You're all gonna get left behind, just like me." "So what do we do?" "I don't know yet, but we need to stick together, the 4 of us." Ray met his eyes. "I know you're pissed at Marcus. I know you feel like he's abandoning us. But Tommy, man, he's trying to save Miguel. He's been tearing himself apart over this. He should have told us about Colombia." "Yeah, he should have. Can you honestly say you wouldn't have done the same thing? Kept it quiet until you figured out how to help?" Tommy wanted to argue, wanted to hold on to his anger, but the truth was he didn't know. He'd never had anything worth keeping secret, never had an opportunity big enough to feel guilty. What does it matter? Miguel's already in too deep, and in 2 months, Marcus is gone. 2 months is a long time, Ray said. A lot can happen. Before Tommy could respond, headlights swept across them. Both boys tensed, years of street instinct kicking in. The car rolled past, just Mrs. Chen from the laundromat, heading home from her night shift. Ray waited until the taillights disappeared. Carmen said something else. She said Miguel's working at Diego's social club on Prospect Avenue, counting money, running errands. She thinks Diego's testing him, seeing if he can be trusted. "Or making sure he's in too deep to get out," Tommy said. The words hung between them, heavy with implication. Once Miguel knew the details of Diego's operation, once he'd handled money and witnessed transactions, he became a liability if he tried to leave. Diego wouldn't let him walk away with that knowledge. "We need to talk to Marcus," Ray said finally. "All 3 of us together, figure out a plan." Marcus tried talking to Miguel. It didn't work. "Then we try something else, but we do it together." Ray's voice was firm. "That's what we've always done, Tommy. We stick together." Tommy looked at his friend, saw the determination in Ray's face, and felt something shift in his chest. Ray was right. They'd been brothers since they were 8 years old, surviving this neighborhood by watching each other's backs. Marcus going to Colombia didn't change that. Miguel working for Diego didn't change that. "All right," Tommy said. "Let's find Marcus." Marcus sat on the fire escape outside his apartment, calculus textbook open on his lap, but forgotten. Below, the street was quieter than usual for a summer night. Just a few people sitting on stoops, trying to catch any hint of breeze. The Apollo 11 crew was somewhere in space right now, heading toward the moon, and Marcus couldn't help but feel the irony. Men were leaving Earth entirely while he couldn't figure out how to save his best friend from a gang leader 6 blocks away. His mother had gone to bed an hour ago, exhausted from her double shift. Marcus had heard her in the kitchen before she retired, making his lunch for tomorrow, even though he'd told her 100 times he could do it himself. She never stopped, never complained, just kept sacrificing, kept pushing, kept believing that Marcus would be the one to make it all worthwhile. The weight of it was crushing. "Marcus?" He looked down to find Ray and Tommy on the sidewalk below, looking up at him. "Come down," Ray called softly. "We need to talk." Marcus glanced at his mother's darkened window, then carefully made his way down the fire escape. When he reached the bottom, he dropped the last few feet to the pavement, landing with practiced ease. "What's going on?" "Ray told me about Diego," Tommy said without preamble, "about how he's been watching all of us." Marcus looked at Tommy, trying to read his friend's expression. The anger from their last encounter seemed muted now, replaced by something harder to define. "Yeah, he has." "We need to do something," Tommy continued, "about Miguel. We can't just let him disappear into Diego's organization." The words surprised Marcus. He'd expected more resentment, more accusations about abandoning them. Instead, Tommy sounded like the friend Marcus had grown up with, the one who'd thrown punches beside him in a dozen street fights, who'd shared his last dollar when Marcus's mother couldn't afford lunch money. "I tried talking to him," Marcus said. "He pushed me away." "So we try something else," Ray said, "but we need to be smart about it. Diego's not stupid, and he's been planning this for a long time." "Carmen might help," Marcus offered. "If what you said is true, if she feels guilty." "She does," Ray confirmed, "but she's also terrified of Diego. We can't put her in danger." They stood in a loose circle on the sidewalk, 3 friends who'd known each other since elementary school, trying to solve a problem that felt impossibly large. Marcus could see it in their faces, the same fear he felt, the same desperate need to do something, anything, to pull Miguel back from the edge. "Diego's got Miguel at the social club most days," Ray said. "Prospect Avenue. Carmen said he's teaching him the business." "Which means Miguel's learning things. Diego can't let him walk away knowing," Tommy added. "We need to get him out before that happens," Marcus said. "Before he's in so deep there's no coming back." "How?" Tommy's question was blunt. "Diego's not going to just let him go, and Miguel signed up for this. He made a deal." "A deal he was manipulated into making," Marcus countered. "Diego orchestrated the whole thing with Carmen. Miguel didn't have a choice, not really." "Diego won't see it that way." Marcus knew Tommy was right. In Diego's world, a deal was a deal. Breaking it meant consequences, and those consequences usually involved violence. But they couldn't just stand by and watch Miguel destroy his future. "What if we could give Diego something he wants more?" Ray said slowly, thinking out loud. "Something worth trading for Miguel?" "Like what?" Tommy asked. "I don't know yet, but there has to be something. Everyone wants something." Marcus felt a spark of hope, fragile but real. "We need information. We need to understand Diego's operation, figure out what he needs, what his vulnerabilities are." "That's dangerous," Tommy said. "Start asking questions about Diego Santos and people notice, people talk." "Then we're careful," Marcus said. "We use what we already know and build from there." A car turned onto the street, and all 3 boys fell silent, watching until it passed. The paranoia was automatic now, survival instinct honed by years of living in territory where danger could arrive without warning. "There's something else," Ray said when the car disappeared. "Miguel's draft notice. It's coming soon, right? What happens when that arrives?" The question hung in the air. Marcus had been trying not to think about it, but Ray was right to bring it up. If Miguel got drafted, he'd be gone to Vietnam within months. And if he was working for Diego when that happened, Diego might see it as Miguel trying to escape, Marcus said quietly. Or he might use it as leverage, find a way to get Miguel deferred through connections or bribes, make Miguel owe him even more. Either way, it's bad, Tommy said. We need to move fast, Ray said. We've got 2 months before Marcus leaves for Colombia. That's our window. Marcus felt the pressure of that timeline like a physical thing. 2 months to save Miguel, to somehow untangle him from Diego Santos's organization without getting all of them killed in the process. 2 months before he left for Colombia, carrying the weight of his mother's sacrifices and his father's dying wish and the guilt of leaving his friends behind. All right, Marcus said, decision crystallizing. We start gathering information, quietly. We figure out what Diego wants, what he needs, what matters to him besides territory and money, and we look for leverage. How? Tommy asked. We start with Carmen, Ray said. She knows Diego better than anyone. If we can convince her to help, really help, she might know something we can use. And if she won't, Tommy pressed, then we find another way, Marcus said firmly. Because we're not giving up on Miguel. We're not letting him disappear into that life. The three of them stood there, a silent pact forming in the space between words. They'd been through everything together, fights and failures, small victories and crushing disappointments. They'd survived this neighborhood by watching each other's backs, by being smarter and tougher and more loyal than anyone else. They could do this. They had to. Tomorrow, Marcus said. We start tomorrow. Miguel Rodriguez sat in the back room of Diego's social club, counting money with mechanical precision. 10s and 20s, mostly, with occasional 50s mixed in. The bills were worn, soft from passing through countless hands, and they smelled like sweat and cigarettes and desperation. Carlos stood by the door, silent and watchful. He'd been Miguel's shadow for days now, a constant reminder that Diego didn't trust him, that freedom was an illusion. Miguel had stopped trying to lose him. There was no point. You're getting faster, Diego said from across the room. He sat at a desk, ledger open in front of him, cigarette burning in an ashtray. Good, speed matters in this business. Miguel said nothing, just kept counting. 500 in 10s, 220 in 20s, 75 in 5s. He bundled each stack with a rubber band, placed them in the lockbox Diego had given him. You know why I'm teaching you this? Diego asked. Miguel looked up, meeting Diego's eyes. Because you want me to be useful. Because I want you to understand. Diego leaned back in his chair. This neighborhood, Miguel, it runs on money. Not on honor, not on loyalty, not on any of that street code bullshit people talk about. Money, and the people who control the money control everything. Miguel returned to counting. He didn't want Diego's philosophy, didn't want to understand the logic of the trap he'd walked into. He just wanted to survive it. Your friend Marcus, Diego continued, voice casual but weighted. He's going to Colombia in September. Full scholarship. That's impressive. Miguel's hands stilled on the bills. How do you know that? I know everything that happens in my territory, including what your friends are planning. The words sent ice through Miguel's veins. They're not planning anything. No? Diego smiled, but there was no warmth. Marcus tried to talk to you yesterday. Told you I manipulated you with my sister. Tried to convince you to walk away from our arrangement. Miguel's mind raced. How did Diego know what Marcus had said? Had someone been listening? Was the whole neighborhood his surveillance network? He's worried about you, Diego said. All three of them are. Marcus, Tommy, Ray, they want to save you. He paused, took a drag from his cigarette. It's admirable, really, that kind of loyalty. But it's also dangerous. They won't do anything, Miguel said quickly. I'll talk to them, make them understand. You'll do nothing. Diego's voice was steel. Because the moment you try to warn them, the moment you break our arrangement in any way, they become targets. You understand me, Miguel? Right now, they're safe because you're doing what I tell you to do. You keep them safe by staying exactly where you are. The trap closed tighter. Miguel had thought he was protecting his friends by working for Diego, but now Diego was using that same protection as a leash. Any move Miguel made, any attempt to escape or resist, would put Marcus and Tommy and Ray in danger. I understand, Miguel said quietly. Good. Diego stubbed out his cigarette. Finish counting. Then Carlos will take you home. Tomorrow you start earlier, 8 a.m. We've got a delivery coming in. Miguel nodded, returned to the money. His hands moved automatically, but his mind was elsewhere, trapped in the impossible mathematics of his situation. He couldn't stay. He couldn't leave. He couldn't warn his friends. He couldn't let them try to save him. There was no solution. No way out. Just the endless counting of bills and the weight of Carlos's gaze and the knowledge that every day he spent here, he sank deeper into a life he'd never wanted. When he finished, Carlos walked him home through streets that felt different now, threatening in ways they hadn't been before. Miguel saw Diego's organization everywhere, in the lookouts on corners, in the way certain people nodded to Carlos, in the invisible web of control that covered these blocks like spider silk. At his building, Carlos stopped. 8 a.m., he reminded Miguel. Don't be late. Miguel climbed the stairs to his apartment, each step heavier than the last. His mother would be asleep by now, his younger siblings too. He'd eat whatever she'd left for him in the kitchen. Maybe watch television until he could sleep. Try not to think about the draft notice that would arrive any day now. Try not to wonder what would happen when his friends inevitably tried to help him, because they would try. He knew them too well to believe otherwise. Marcus with his brilliant mind and his need to fix everything. Ray with his quiet determination and his talent for finding information. Even Tommy, angry and lost but loyal to the bone. They would try to save him, and Diego would be waiting, and Miguel couldn't stop any of it. He unlocked the apartment door, stepped into the darkness, and felt the full weight of his choices settle over him like a burial shroud.